Jodie Goldsworthy, Director of Beechworth Honey. Welcome to the evokeAG studio.
Thank you, Lee. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to talk to you. Now, in terms of your involvement here, what would you like delegates to go home with, having heard what you've had to say?
Well, I guess we all in agriculture and in agribusiness, it's just wonderful to sort of hear other people's stories. And I think that, every day in our businesses there's a challenge, and often when you come to events like this you really see the way that other people deal with challenges, and I think you just go home a little bit energised and refreshed, really.
Tell me a little bit about Beechworth Honey and really why you've been as successful as you have.
I sometimes ask the same question. Look, for us it's very, very simple. It's about product quality and integrity, and really just always looking at what the customer is interested in and trying to deliver a product that does that. And I think we're really lucky because Australia has an amazing diversity of really incredible honey produced by fabulous producers. So in some ways my job's not really that hard.
What's the reputation of Australian honey like in terms of its quality, and are we a trusted producer of honey?
We are very trusted because we really are. Australia is the bee utopia of the world. We don't have the deadly dreaded varroa mite, and so therefore we don't use most of the chemicals that are used in honey production systems globally. And we have that ability to trace back to the different eucalypts. About 70% of our honey is derived from eucalypt production, and in Australia we have over 700 species of eucalypt. So we really have, I guess, some of the most diverse flavour profiles, very dense honey because of our hot, dry climate. And, I think the world is sort of starting to understand what Australia has to offer.
Beechworth is a beautiful part of the world. How have you managed as a business to lift your gaze from, that paradise that you live in to become a global success, really, in terms of the business that you run?
I guess building on our Australian market has been really important. So cementing a really strong Australian domestic base, and then from there just looking at small niche export markets where the product is not treated as a commodity but rather is able to be differentiated. But essentially building that local customer trust, and then particularly I think into the Asian market, utilising that. Almost that word of mouth marketing, through people visiting Australia, or people who are residents of Australia but still have very strong connections with the countries that they come from.
What are the keys to the success of that marketing? What are the specifics that really appeal to people in those areas that buy your honey?
I guess the story behind it, the fact that we are 4 generations of beekeepers in Beechworth, but not only that, the fact that we have this now large network or hub of other beekeepers that we can trace, as I say, back to the hive. And for us, running an education centre in our hometown of Beechworth has been really, really important. That attracts, and combined with our Melbourne store and education centre, attracts about 180,000 visitors each year. And we know that if we give people a good experience, if they can taste the honey, if they can see the bees, if they can do our little honey education tour, then they have a deeper appreciation and understanding of what sits behind the family, the brand, the business, the industry, really.
It's really interesting that you go to that effort, and education's always a powerful thing. You must see, or you must believe at least, that it pays off, that effort pays off.
Yes, I was a beekeeper's daughter who was sent off to university to train as a teacher. So I guess first and foremost, in addition to being a beekeeper, I am also, by DNA, an educator. And I think you never really lose that. And I think from a marketing perspective, if you can invest in, building someone's knowledge about a product, and it's not difficult. I mean, the fundamental is that people want to know where their food comes from. They want transparency as to how it is produced. And I guess, we've been doing that now for over 10 years. And, school groups, special interest groups that are coming through all the time. And that just, I guess, helps to sort of build that brand awareness, really.
And that strong domestic base that you talked about earlier, which is also the base that you build export success on. How much do you export? How much a part of the business is that for you now?
It's a small part. It's still a small part. And I guess has been probably limited to some extent by droughts and things like that over the time and availability of product. But it's also really about finding those right niche markets. We don't need to be a commodity player in an international sense. So we would rather do something small but do it well and do it in a way that helps to actually build positive outcomes for our industry, as opposed to just sending it overseas in bulk, knowing that it's not going to be necessarily representing well on brand Australia, essentially.
You mentioned that Australia is bee paradise because we don't have the diseases, and the varroa mite is one of the big threats potentially to the Australian honey industry. There has been a recent scandal with adulteration of honey in this country. Has that hurt you?
No, I think actually quite the opposite. It's true, honey is in the top 3 food products globally, and it's a massive global problem. Again, I think consumers are quite clever. They just want to know and be able to trace it back to the hive. So I think for beekeepers who are able to do that, for businesses that are able to do that, and we've never compromised our quality by using and blending lower priced honey from countries where there's known adulteration problems. So when things like this happen, the fact that you've always done the right thing,
consumers have confidence in what they're buying.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
You've been around for 4 generations, which is a fantastic family business story. Where do you see Beechworth Honey going in, say, the next decade? We have a 4th generation heritage, but we are a 1st generation business. So Stephen, my husband, and I started the packaging and marketing and bought hives of our own in 1992. Look, who knows where it will go. I guess we've built the business to the extent that, we now buy honey off lots of other beekeepers. We have children that are, keeping bees for themselves and, involved in agriculture, and who knows what their futures will be. But I think, we will always have some involvement in the honey industry, and, we love what we're doing. So. And because you have such a strong niche, I imagine you feel quite confident about the future of the industry overall and selling honey.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the product ticks so many of the fundamentals. It's it's a product that has really is the same when we pack it as when the bees produce it. It's a natural product. It's a natural sweetener. So it really, it's generally considered as a healthy product, a healthy alternative in terms of the sweeteners. And we're confident that there's a really good future for Australian beekeeping. Lots of challenges, but we're a pretty innovative lot, and I think we can look forward to a good future.
Well, all the very best with it. Jodie Goldsworthy from Beechworth Honey, thanks for joining us in the evokeAG studio.
Thank you, Lee.